All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Tim and Tim Show in Making Moves in Multifamily. Glad to be back. Tim, there's pollen on the cars again. The leaves are budding. My eyes are watering, and I'm a bit sneezy. Oh, springtime in the air.
Yeah. And I just had my cars detailed yesterday, and they were already showing pollen. So
It's funny is we got Danielle's new car detailed, and it stays in the garage. It looks beautiful all the time. I'm like, damn, I miss parking in the garage.
yeah. So most of my two of my cars are in the garage, but my Bronco sits outside, and it's
And it's
beautiful
black. Yeah,
black.
like my
It was
truck. So now my
beautiful.
truck's yellow.
Yeah, man, it was so shiny yesterday when I came home and saw it, and not this morning.
Yeah. Man. All right. Uh, this has been
What?
a hot button of a conversation. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I have been a little shook to the core after reading this 10x is easier than 2x book by Dan Sullivan. I have been I bought a Kindle and I've been staying up to like midnight reading this, and I just can't put it down. And it is something that I saw Mohit. He posted about it today as well. He like posted a picture of the book cover and like a couple of his takeaways. And I commented on it and I said, Mohit, I find myself focusing on 2x activities that I know are necessary to continue the operations of our business, but they're not 10x activities that are going to get me to the next level. And he was like, what do you mean? How could that be true? I mean, you guys have 10x in the last 3 months. And I was like, yeah, but what got us 10x in the last 3 months isn't going to 10x us again in the next 3 months because
No.
we're focusing on 2x work again. And it just, man, like the way that he worded it in the book was when you're trying to get somebody to break through and have an understanding of what they really should be focusing on as a 10x activity, it's like, okay, describe to me what would 10x look like in your business? Like Tim, let's role play this a little. We didn't, hey, full disclosure, Tim didn't know what we were talking about till like 30 seconds before we started this, and this has not
True
been
story.
scripted. So Tim, what does 10x in your business look like?
10x in my business
Mm-hmm.
is I need to, we need to be buying more properties. I need to I don't know, add another 600 units to the portfolio and expand our property management business. Not the ground activities, but the business, the reach of the property management company overall. That's probably 10x. Am I thinking about that wrong? I haven't
I
read the
think
book,
that's
folks.
like
So
5x. Like
then you tell me what's a 10x
so if
activity?
so we got 1,000 units right now, right?
Yep.
This is all hyperbole, right? How do we get to 10,000 units?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, answer
Yeah.
the question.
How do we get to 10,000 units?
Yeah. Like
Well,
what things need to happen in order for us to achieve 10,000 units?
yeah, I got to increase that pipeline, right? I need to be out there, working with more sellers, more brokers, more, you name it, mom and pops to be increasing our pipeline to go from 800 units of deals under contract right now to 2,000 units under contract right now,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right.
So that's one piece. What's the other piece? I mean, because there's two things in our business that move the needle in our business. What is going on here? Celebration. Did you see those?
If I do that, does that do it too?
I don't
Come
know
on.
what
Where's
happened.
my I didn't get any
I think
balloons.
I don't know what just happened there. Okay,
No balloons for me.
so instead of having like 800 unit, instead of looking at like 50 unit or 100 unit deals, we need to be looking at like 500 unit deals, right? So like one transaction is like 500 units or something. Maybe we're doing 4 or 5 deals a year, right? So now we're adding 2,500 units a year. That gets us to that 10x activity, right? Our 10x level of
Yeah.
10,000 units. Okay. So what's the other thing that needs to happen in order to get to 10x?
I need money.
Right. Need money, right? What we as real estate people, the lifeblood of our business is deals and money. And Tim Vest has been incredible with deal flow. I mean, he's so good at it. He loves talking with brokers. The art of negotiation is definitely in Tim Vest's wheelhouse. So like, hey Tim, this is the number I need to get. You go figure out how to get that, right? So But the other part of a business is the money. And that got me thinking recently about I have not been dedicating enough time to the capital raising efforts of our business because I have been so focused on operations. Are those operations successful? Yes, obviously, because they're getting all of my time and attention. But that's a 2x level activity,
Yeah.
right? So, in order for us to get from where we are today, 10x would be 10,000 doors, right? How do we get there? We got to focus on bigger deals, more deal flow, more bigger deals, right? And the other side of it is we need to get access to more money. Um, and then so what the author of that book is talking about is like, okay, well, if those are the things that you need to focus on, if these are the things that need to happen in order for you to achieve your 10x goal, you as the CEO or president or whatever of your business, those are the things that you need to be focusing on. What in your day-to-day activities now don't fall into those two buckets, right? A lot of stuff, a lot of
Most,
stuff.
most.
Most
Yeah.
most things, right? And that's what the author illustrates about, to achieve your 10x activities, you need to let go of the 80% of your day. And
Yeah.
every time you want to 10x your activity, you have to let go of the 80%. So like, for example, to role play that even further is like, okay, it's 3 years in the future. We now have 10,000 units. How do we get to 100,000? Right now, what got you to 10,000 is not going to get you to 100,000, right? And everything that got you to 10,000 would now be considered your new 80% busy
Right.
work or your
Yeah.
2x activity. And it's like, oh my God, man, like I have been kind of shook about this lately. And like even something I had said last night to Danielle, my wife's name's Danielle, for those that don't know that. I was like, you know what? I think what we need to do is increase our minimum investment to like 250,000. And she was like, why would you do that? And I was like, because it's a lot easier to find one person to give me 250,000 than it is five people to give me 50. And also think about the scalability of time in that aspect, right? So like getting your first 1,000 units, for which is a big goal, right? A lot of people are approaching that goal or working towards that goal in the multifamily syndication space or self-storage space or whatever asset class you're in, right? Everyone has that initial kind of milestone, right? And 50,000, $100,000 chunks, that'll get you there. But that is not going to get you to 10,000 units in the same time frame because the deal's got to be bigger, the money's got to be the checks got to be larger. And there's a lot of examples in this book that are talking about how certain individuals they set 10x goals for whatever they're trying to achieve, and most people told them, oh, you're crazy, that's never going to work. And then those are the people that also end up creating these enormous businesses, these
Right.
incredibly successful businesses, and they do the least amount of stuff possible every day because that's them focusing on the 20% that's going to get them those 10x goals rather than 2x stuff, right? I mean, that's kind of the summary of this book.
Yeah. And so just so you guys know, like, and Tim and I didn't plan this. I mean, literally we didn't. I don't even think I knew you were reading the book until a couple days ago. But it- one of the things that kind of dawned on me, right? Like, Vitali was out with newborn, right, for a few weeks. Um, Dawned on me over the summer when I went on a family vacation is, what got us to where we are is not going to get us to the next level because I'm on family vacation and I'm constantly checking emails. I'm every morning I'm getting up, every evening I'm on, I can't check out, right? In my role, I can't go away for a week. Vitali tries to take time off for, to be a dad, to hang out with his newborn kid and take care of his wife. And he's constantly getting pulled back in because there's this boots on the ground stuff, day to day, in the weeds kind of things that he has to take care of. Right. And that's where we've performed. We've just taken care of that stuff. And it's not so much about going away on trips. The aha moment for me was if something happens to me, right, my piece of this business stops.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens to him, his piece of this business stops.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have both pieces. And that can't be the thing, right? Like Tim and I should be at a point where we're focused on so much strategy level stuff, higher level, the 10x stuff, that the 2x stuff that's required to keep the wheels moving every day, keep moving even if we're not here. Because there's a difference, right? There's the daily operations, right? If I get hit by a bus, does the daily operations stop? If they do, then that's a problem,
That's a
right?
problem. Right.
That's a problem.
And and look, in full disclosure, I mean, that's a lot of our problem has been we just hunker down and do it. I mean,
Right.
until having a kid, like working 12-hour days, fine, whatever. 16-hour days, fine, whatever. Didn't really care.
Right.
This is me putting in the grind in order to get where I want to go. But again, putting in 16-hour days is not going to get me from 1,000 units to 10,000, right? Like
No.
it's going to be delegation, it's going to be systematizing, it's going to be hiring people to do work, hiring people to do the 2x level work that can be a repeatable process that you can delegate to somebody else that can do the work. I can train somebody and show somebody how to do the things that I've already figured out how to do so that I can focus on the things that I haven't figured out how to do yet and the things that other people can't do that only I can do or only Tim Vest can do. And those are the things that we need to be focused on all the time. And it's like, somebody, I bet you somebody's going to be listening to this either right now, live, or in the future and be like, duh, Tim, didn't you know that? Yes, of course you know it, but it's like it hits you at different points. And that was my whole thing with like mentioning Mohit's post where he's like, what he was like, you guys 10x in the last 3 months. And I was like, yeah, but that's not going to be like, now that's my 2x activity is what got us here. Right. And
Right.
it's like, it's always continually moving the goalpost, which is a blessing and a curse. Let's be honest here. As entrepreneurs, like, moving the goalpost is it's like chasing the dragon, right? At the end of the day. And, it's like you have to refocus and rethink about what you're actually doing on a day to day business. Like, auditing your time. I mean, that's a great way to say it, right? Auditing your time of what am I actually doing on a day to day basis? What do I enjoy doing? What makes me money? What doesn't make me money anymore? And if I want to achieve this, what things do I need to be doing more of and what things do I need to be doing less of? And it's really been man, I started reading that. When did I start reading that book? I think on like Saturday or Sunday or something, like Friday, maybe. I don't know, a couple days ago. And I have just not been able to stop thinking about this principle and this concept. And I mean, Tim Vest, I've been blowing up your phone at nighttime with like all these crazy ideas and like this excitement of all the things that I want to do. And it's like, yes, that's what the 10x activity is. Being excited about growth, being excited about thinking about the possibilities, the potentials of how do we make more revenue in our business so that we can hire more people, so we can focus on more 10x level activities. And it's not rocket science, but implementation is so hard. And I read a post today. I follow this guy on Instagram that I really like. His name's Logan Rankin, if anybody knows of him. And he talked about how when he started his real estate business, he's like us, right? But he doesn't syndicate. He just buys stuff for himself. He's never brought on outside investors. He's never, it's just him in the bank all the time. And he was like, what I learned through my journey over the last 7 years, because he owns like 4,000 units now himself. And he's got like 150 employees underneath his umbrella of like management companies and all this other kind of stuff. And he was like, what I've figured out is that building the business to support the real estate is the hardest thing that you will do. Finding the real estate and getting the money to buy the real estate is the easiest thing that you're going to do. And I was like, oh my God, for the last like 5 years, I've been thinking about, I got to get my first deal and I got to do this and I got to do that. And like, you're focusing all of these things, right? Because we utilize third-party management. But now that we use our own money, a lot of our own money, and we use a lot, our own management company, the problems have changed. And the problems now are, how do we grow the support businesses to run these assets to the quality and to the standard that we want them to be done at, do it efficiently, do it effectively, and continue to grow the business without our day-to-day input? That's a mountain of a task, and it's not something that you can just answer right away. But these are the types of things that if you're the CEO or the president of your business, these are the things that you want to be taking focus on. Like this is what you want to be spending your time and energy and money and resources on, is focusing on growing those businesses and the support systems and hiring the people and growing the revenues of the business so that you can continue to grow.
Yeah, and folks, that's how you build a true business, right? Like, sometimes we get into this thing and it's like, I just want to own a couple apartment complexes and manage them, right? Cash
And
flow
that's
them or
fine.
hand them to somebody. And that's fine. But if you're truly growing a business, if you're truly trying to create scale, right? Let's be honest, guys, like a lot of us got into this for the scale, right? Because if you just want rental property, you can probably do it with single family.
Yeah.
But it's harder to create the scale in the single family space. So multifamily scales better, but to create that scale, you're going to reach a point where you have to implement this kind of stuff. And again, I've said it a million times, and I haven't read the book, but I follow a lot of guys who have been uber successful, and Bezos is one. But like one of the things I noticed with him is like, hey, he went out there and figured out like, hey, what am I doing in my business that I could be doing internally and control that process and do it better, right?
Hmm.
um Amazon Web Services, guys, like they started out selling books, right? And next thing you know, they're one of the top web service providers, data center operators in the country. And that was all born out of that whole, how do I create scale? Like Tim and I look at things internally and we go, hey, we're paying this third party this amount to do this job. Well, we have enough scale now that we could just bring that in house, right? And that's an activity. That's kind of what Tim's talking about, is like, but building that piece is difficult. It takes time, it takes effort, and but it is a big piece to setting us up for that 10x, to go from 1,000 units to 10,000 units. Because if I'm doing 10,000 units, I sure as hell don't want to be paying some compliance person $300 per property to do that. It's just not sustainable. I gotta bring that in house, right?
Well, what's been on my chopping block lately is like literally every line item on the closing statement. Who are we paying to do services
Right.
that if we're doing enough of these per year, we could just pay some money ourselves? And
Right.
now it's like, okay, well, so the mindset for me, and maybe this isn't right or wrong, just kind of this is kind of like a vlog, if you would, kind of a documentation of our journey. But the mindset that I have as of today is my portfolio can support the salary, and then the outside business brings the profit. Right. So it's like you think about all of these ancillary services that you use as a real estate person, right? Insurance, legal teams, lending brokers, tech compliance, property management, landscaping, pest control. What I mean, any of those things, right? You're contracting out to somebody else, and you're like, man, for example, Tim and I, maybe we're paying between all of our properties $12,000 a month in landscaping. Well, man, can we
More than
hire
that.
some guys on our own team and give them
Yeah.
the equipment? Sure, it's going to be investment up front and like to buy the equipment, but like, well, we can pay them a salary to do the work. And if we can continue to grow our business, the salary stays the same and the revenue continues to grow. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a scalable business right there. Then all of our properties start to save money too, right? Because you're still going to charge a property something. Like the property is going to either pay for it to a third party or they're going to pay it to my company. Well, because as part of our in-house umbrella, we'll give you a 10 or 20% discount to using our in-house services, which is, just ourselves. Tim, I'm going to give you a discount for using your service. But you give yourself a discount, right? Because, that's the benefit, right? Now everybody benefits from the scale, the investors and, the properties and everybody involved in the deal benefits. You're still making some money because otherwise you would have been paying it either way. But at the end of the day, now you have a scalable business that you're like, okay, well, these guys are going to surface my stuff first, and this is going to pay their salaries. Now, if they're not busy enough, I can go tell them, oh, hey, I can provide that service to somebody else. And, if they charge them $2,000 a month, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm starting to make a profit in these
Right.
businesses. And then you start to, you have this whole enterprise business, this whole encompassing umbrella of stuff going on in your real estate business that you don't start letting any money walk out the door. You're like, wait a second, we can keep all of this in house. We can provide discounts. We could do it better. Our guys are only going to be focusing on our stuff. That's how I know it's going to be done to our quality.
Right. Well, and you think about like that's a service, but think about materials, for example.
Hmm.
Like the natural progression with guys with materials is like I go to Lowe's or Home Depot and I just buy, right? And then all of a sudden I do enough and now I'm using like HD Supply or Pro, right? And then after that, I've done enough and I have this moment where I'm like, wait a minute, somebody sells to those guys, right? Some flooring guy sells flooring to Lowe's. Let me go talk to the flooring guy that sells to Lowe's and I start buying from him because I got enough scale where I'm doing that, right? And it's this natural progression, and eventually you end up just forget that guy altogether, and you're just buying the stuff overseas, just like the flooring company does, right? and
Hmm.
and so it's those types of things as well, and that's like the progression Tim and I have gone through, right? Is hey, we're to the point now where we're talking, directly to the wholesalers, right? And maybe one day we're bringing it in, and by the container, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
because the flooring that you're buying at Home Depot, paying $2 a square foot, we might be able to buy it by the container at 50 cents a square foot. And
right,
I actually had this conversation at a conference recently, and he was talking about how he negotiated these discounts, and he was paying $1.20 a square foot. And I was like, "Hey, man, if I could give you $1.20 a square foot, would you pay me instead of him?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're my friend." And I was like, "Cool."
yeah,
Right? If I can get it in 70, 80 cents a square foot and he's getting at $1.20 and he's still happy, I'm making money now. Able to provide a service, and like it just makes all of these encompassing businesses supported.
right. Yeah, and guys, but that's how you get there, right? And that's the types of things you need to be thinking about. Honestly, is like, hey, as you start to scale, start, take it from us, right? And like, get ahead of it. We're kind of like beside it. Get ahead of it. Be thinking now, like as I scale, what are the things I'm doing that I hit a certain point, I need to start, looking to bring that in house, or I need to start to look at, going to a different source to get that item, right? Instead of going to Lowe's, go to the guy who sells to Lowe's, right? Or his company, and when you're I don't know, when you're paying $150,000 a year to file tax returns, maybe that's a time to start thinking about bringing accounting and tax services in house, right? I mean, I don't know the answer to that one right off the top of my head, but maybe that's the time to say, hey, could I just hire somebody?
Yeah.
Um, and stop throwing that $150,000 off at some third party that I have no control over, and no matter what I do, won't deliver my K1s by March 15th. Just think how much. Just, just think. By the way, guys, from your investors, if any of you guys out there are doing syndications or have investors, how much happier would they be with you if they did get them by March 15th, right? Like what's
Yeah.
the thing right now, Tim, that we deal with all the time? Like what's most of the questions flying
K1's
into our in
questions. When are
yeah, where
K1's
are
ready?
they? Where are they?
Where
Right?
are they?
Where are they? Um, and man, you'd be like if we're both operators and you're delivering by March 15th, you're right here. Like,
We delivered most of them, and we still got a couple days.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, to the point, it's like, you think about these third party services that are providing, like think K1s, right? Because those are due by the end of the week. Think about how many returns those CPAs are actually doing. Like
Oh
a
yeah.
lot.
A
And I was
lot.
like, Tim, think about it. And when we talk about this, what's today? Tuesday? Jeez, when did we talk about this? Over the
So
weekend,
early
maybe?
last week, I
Or
think.
last week sometime. I was like,
Yeah.
Tim, think about it this way. I was like, we're paying X amount of dollars every single year for all of these K1s, right? And I was like, well, what if we just paid ourselves that and we hired somebody that ran the accounting company, right? That does the accounting function at our business, and they're aware of the properties as soon as we buy them. They're maintaining the books all year long. When we get to year end, if they're a licensed CPA and they can file the K1s for us, then they don't have any other work to do besides our own. I was like, we might be able to file K1s by the end of January.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, now really you really start to think about something and you're like, wow, that's a real possibility. And think about the level of service now that you're providing to your investors. And the number one way that we grow our investor base is referrals. It's like, wow, everyone's talking about this pleasant experience about working with Vive Equity, that they get their K1s out by the end of January or even February 15th. And I got all my K1s by February 15th. I never have to ask them where they're at. And,
Right.
all these other investors like, man, I didn't get my K1s till October or September. It's like, well, hey, man, are you happy with them? Do they make you money? Well, yeah, they do. Well, hey, send me their portal because I think I'm going to check them out and see if I should invest some money with them. Right. I mean, it's like when you provide that level of service, because let's be honest here, at the end of the day, we provide a service to people. Yes, Dennis, can see you now.
There you are.
Good. We provide a service to other people that is better than most people, right? And how do you do that? It's you grow, you scale, you bring things in house. You don't pay outside services to do as much things for you because you're able to produce it yourself. And I don't want to say that's the natural progression. I mean, that's the natural progression for you and I, just because the way that we think and the way that we want to grow and the way that we want to present ourselves. I mean, Tim, what was the thing that I tell you when we first started in this business? What did I tell you all the time? I said, the bar is low. For what other people provide, the bar is so low. And both of us come from corporate career, long-time corporate careers. We worked our way up. Like, we understand, the level of professionalism that it takes in order to, be successful. And we can do that. And we're like, well, we can do that service here too. And we can bring that level of professionalism to what we're doing in our entrepreneurial lives instead of our W-2 lives.
Yeah. And man, coming from that corporate career, one of the things I did when I managed teams is I would tell my team all the time, like, if you run into a roadblock, let me know, I'll remove it. Right. And that was my job as the manager: remove roadblocks, make sure my team could do what they wanted to do. And we kind of do that here, like K1s. I'm going to pick on K1s again because
they're such an easy target right now.
Yeah. It's top of mind. But like our very first year, our K1s were all over the place. They came out whenever. So, we got together with the CPA. We were like, why did it take so long? And they named something. Well, we removed that roadblock. We said, we'll solve that. And we got them all our information by October, right? Like they said. K1 still came late, right? So this past year, we went back to them again and said, hey guys, we got everything to you by October. What else can we do? And one of the things I think they said was something about like financials from management company being a mess, right? And this was third-party financials, right? This is a third-party management company. So to Vitali's credit, we spent a big part of the year building much better financial reporting within Vive. Like Vive's, and pat yourself on the back, man, because we've been getting feedback from funds, from other guys, from accountants and stuff, that our financial package is top notch, right? It's one of the best they've seen. Right. Not my words, theirs.
And that's the 10X activity, right? I mean, how do you attract private equity and big check writers? You provide that level of service that they would expect. You can't just half-ass and throw it together and think that it's going to work out. You end up creating daily 2X activities and 2X work that you're constantly grinding away at, and you're never really making any true progress.
Right. And so that solved that piece, but then at the same time, it removed a potential excuse, right? From the whole tax return thing. And well, guess what? I think there's still going to be some that come in late. So at some point you look at it and you go, we've solved these problems for you.
If I had somebody doing my stuff and only my stuff, these things we've solved all the problems. Now, the only problem I can't solve for is time, right? Because I'm not client number one. But when you're writing the paychecks, you are client number one. And that entire different mental shift there of our K1s need to be done by February 15th. I give that as a checkpoint or a KPI to my employees then, and say they're done by the 15th, because that's the standard that we set, right? Now, if there's deviations, that's fine. We'll learn, we'll understand, we'll fix, we'll adapt. Maybe we push it out another week. Maybe 215 is too aggressive. Or what are some things that went wrong during the year that caused us not to be able to meet that checkpoint, right? But that's kind of the fun part of growing your own business, because like the business is a set of principles that you follow in order to provide a successful product. Our widget is apartment complexes. We make money in apartment complexes, but the systems and processes are the same as any other business.
Right. Right. Yeah. That was like a moment for me in Hawaii, sitting there and Sean, I'm going to give you a shout out here, brother. Sean Fuller up in Alaska is top notch
Mhm.
at like building systems and processes. He
Oh,
can
he'll
put,
blow your mind with this, man.
but he'll build like one template and he'll apply it to any business, right? He's like, here's my base template for any business, and he's extremely successful. And he's right. And it's exactly what Vitali just said. Is it's like doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yep.
Here's the basic things that any business does that you need to do well, and that's what we're working on. And
Yep.
part of the way we drive into that is when we're using a third party and we keep removing roadblocks and they keep missing their targets. Okay, at some point, like, hey, I've removed everything I can control on my end except for time. All right, so how do I solve for time? I bring it in house,
That's
right?
it. Right. That's the last problem solved there.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we're out of time today. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Sean Fuller's the man. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, Sean Fuller's the man. Yes, he is. He's an amazing individual. If you don't know who he is, um, appreciate you guys joining the call today. It gives you a little bit of insight to like kind of the things that Tim and I are working on and talking about constantly, and how we continue to move the goalpost for ourselves and continue to push the envelope. And people always say, "Oh, the overnight success." And we're like, well, no, this is what we're constantly working on and pushing and growing and putting ourselves into a different league of individuals, because that's what we aspire to do. And if you don't, that's fine, right? But don't, compare and just say, hey, like, oh, you guys got it easy. No, we work our asses off.
oh, I thought when people said overnight success, they were talking about the fact that we worked through the night last night to solve the
Oh,
problem.
that too. That too.
I thought that was
All
it.
right, guys. Nice little knee snapper there, Tim, on the way out. So appreciate everyone. See you next week.
See
Peace.
you guys.